Have you ever discovered that the secret to abundance has nothing to do with how much you have, but how much you give? Have you ever given quietly, with no expectation, and watched it return to you like a flood? This is the story of Margaret, an old woman with a broken stove and a pot of soup that changed her life forever. Every morning, before the birds decided to bother waking up, Margaret was already standing over her old stove. She was 71, with a back that curved like a question mark, and hands so cracked from years of chopping and stirring that they looked like old leather maps. Her kitchen was barely a kitchen, a two-burner stove, a wooden table missing one leg, and a window that never fully closed. Winter came right through that gap every year without knocking. But the soup was something else entirely. She made it from whatever she could find. Leftover vegetables from the market that vendors threw into crates at closing time. Dried herbs she kept in small jars. Bones she'd buy for almost nothing and simmer for hours until they surrendered every last drop of flavor. By 6 in the morning, the smell drifted down the whole street. She'd carry the pot outside on a small folding table in front of her house and sell bowls for $1 each. Sometimes 50 cents, sometimes nothing at all. That's how Daniel first found her. He was 9, hungry, and trying very hard to look like he was neither. Had been walking the same block twice, pretending to look at nothing. When the smell hit him, he stopped, stared at the pot, stared at the old woman stirring it.
I don't have money,
He said quickly, before she could ask. Margaret slowly looked up. She studied his face for just a moment. Then, she filled the bowl and held it out to him. I didn't ask you for any, sweetheart. He sat on the curb and ate without stopping. When he finished, he brought the bowl back carefully with both hands.
Thank you,
He said. She smiled. Same time tomorrow. He came back the next day, and the day after that. At first, Daniel just ate and left, but slowly, the mornings stretched longer. He started arriving earlier, watching her set up the table, arrange the balls, stir the pot with that slow, patient rhythm of hers.
What's in it?
He asked one morning when he was 10. Today, carrots, celery, a little thyme, and the secret, she said.
What's the secret?
That's for me to know, she said, smiling. But you're the only one I'd ever tell. He laughed. It was the first time he'd laughed in weeks. She taught him things without making it feel like teaching. Which herbs warmed you from the inside? Which ones were just for smell? She told him that good soup wasn't about expensive ingredients. It was about patience.
Why do you give it away sometimes?
He asked one afternoon. He was 12 now and had been carrying that question for a while. She didn't answer right away, just kept staring. Then, because someone once gave me a coat when I had nothing. That coat kept me alive through a winter I shouldn't have survived. She glanced at him sideways. You don't pay those things back, Daniel. You pay them forward. He turned that sentence over in his mind for a long time. The way you turn a stone in your hand without knowing exactly why you're holding onto it. The years moved the way years do, faster than expected. Daniel was 17 when he told Margaret he wanted to study food science and engineering. She wrote him his first letter 2 weeks after he left for college. Her handwriting was large and slightly uneven, like she was pressing harder than necessary to make sure the words stayed on the page. Don't forget to eat properly. Not just soup, other things too. M. He wrote back. And then she wrote back. And for 8 years, letters crossed between them like a quiet, steady conversation that neither of them ever wanted to end. He chose food engineering for one reason: Margaret's two-burner stove, and the belief that more people deserved what came off it. In his third year, he published a research paper on how to cut waste by 60% without changing a single recipe. 3 universities requested copies. The Regional Food Innovation Board selected it as the year's most impactful student research and gave him their highest student award. That night, he wrote Margaret a letter. Her reply came 10 days later. I don't understand half of what you said, but I understand all of it. I am proud of you, M. He kept that letter in his wallet until the paper went soft at the folds. 8 years after leaving, he came back. He almost didn't recognize the street, but the smell found him first. Warm, deep, familiar, like something his body remembered before his mind caught up. The folding table was still there, and so was she. Margaret was smaller than he remembered, slower, but her hands moved over the ladle with the same quiet certainty they always had. He stood at the edge of the sidewalk and couldn't take another step. She looked up. Their eyes met, and for a moment, neither of them moved. A 79-year-old woman and a man who would always, in some part of himself, be the hungry 9-year-old she had fed without asking a single question. Then her face softened into something he had no word for. Not just a smile, something older and deeper than a smile. Daniel, she said, just his name, nothing else. They held each other the way a mother and son do, not because blood said so, but because life had decided it for them. Her small hands pressed against his back the way hands do when they're trying to say, I've got you. His face bent down toward her white hair, and for the first time in 8 years, he felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. You came back, she whispered into his shoulder. I always was coming back, he said. He looked at her and said what he'd been carrying for 8 years. Today I had nothing. You didn't just give me food, Miss Maggie. You gave me hope. You gave me a reason to keep going. You gave me back my life. I wouldn't be standing here without you. None of it. The degree, the research, none of it would exist without that bowl of soup and the way you looked at me like I mattered. Margaret pressed her lips together, blinking fast. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. A food company offered me a check for my research. Enough to start something real. He paused. I want to open a restaurant, a real one, with a real kitchen and a real sign above the door. He held her gaze. I want you to run it, Miss Maggie. Your recipes, your way, your rules, and the name above the door. He smiled softly. It's already decided. It's yours. Margaret stared at him for a long moment, her hand trembling slightly as she took the envelope. She didn't open it. She just held it against her chest, eyes closed, like it was something fragile and precious. When she opened her eyes, 2 tears ran down her face without permission. All this, she whispered, from a bowl of soup. All this, he said quietly, from you. The restaurant opened on a Tuesday in early spring. Above the door, in simple letters, Margaret's. On the wall near the entrance, a small sign read, "You don't pay it back, you pay it forward." And every day a few balls were set aside